Hi everybody, I thought I'd put out a video that hopefully will be very short but sweet. I think it's very exciting news, and I've been watching Brother Dana's videos and Steve Fletcher 222, and I'm in full agreement with their information. I plan to share Steve Fletcher's latest video. I think it's very good, but I'm just adding another extra goodie, which I'm very excited about. So I think we are indeed having an upcoming fall feast rapture, whether it's the Feast of Trumpets, Day of Atonement, or the Tabernacles. The calendars don't agree, but they all seem to land on one of those three fall feasts, so that's why I'm calling it Fall Feast Rapture. And the throne room that is mentioned in Revelation chapter 4, verses 3. And with that, I'll go from here. So in Revelation chapter 4, it's the throne room in heaven. And in verse 1, it says, after these things, and that is John the Revelator speaking, I looked and behold a door standing open in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was like a trumpet speaking with me. So that's almost like First Thessalonians chapter 4. And it says, come up here. So it sounds like John was raptured in the spirit on the day of the Lord, which is not one day, but over the whole course of the book of Revelation. And it says, I will show you things which must take place after this. And this was after he was shown the seven churches and saw Jesus Christ, the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, all of that being mentioned in Revelation chapters 1 through 3. And in verse 2, it says, immediately I was in the Spirit, and this is on the Lord's day, and behold, a throne set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And here's the main one in verse 3. And he who sat there was like a jasper and a sardis stone in appearance, and there was a rainbow around the throne in the appearance like an emerald. But he saw one like a jasper stone and a sardis stone in appearance, and then there was an emerald rainbow around his throne. And I had put out a video a couple of months ago that the seven candles or the seven lampstands was the seven candles of the menorah, and they were also the colors of the rainbow, with the center one being Shavuot or Pentecost being the color green, which is the center color, and then it goes into the fall colors for the fall feast for the last three candles being yellow, orange, and red, and I'll show you that. So with the seven candlesticks, I believe it was a seven candlestick menorah that you see in Revelation chapter 1 that represents the seven churches, and Christ being in the midst of it, which would be the center candle, which is the green color of the rainbow. So if you go from the seven feast days and the seven colors of the rainbow, you go from purple to indigo to blue to green to yellow to orange to red, the fall feast colors. So the spring was Pesach or Passover, then unleavened bread, and then blue being first fruits. The center one, which is the rainbow, which is the tribe of Judah, which is what John the Revelator saw, and Jesus being in the midst of that, being Shavuot or Pentecost, and then the fall feast being yellow being for the Feast of Trumpets, orange being for the Day of Atonement, and red being for Tabernacles or Sukkot. And here's artwork that illustrates the throne room of what John might have seen at that time with the four living creatures, the eagle, man, the bull, then the lion, and then the 24 elders, and then the throne of God with the emerald rainbow around it. So again in Revelation 4, but in verses 2 and 3, John was immediately in the Spirit, and behold, the throne room set in heaven, and one that sat on the throne. And he who sat on the throne was like a jasper and a sardis stone in appearance. So in the throne room scene, John sees one that sat on the throne that had the appearance like a sardine stone, and sardine are kind of orange and yellow with a little bit of red and striped as well. And this is the stone that represents Reuben, which was the firstborn of Jacob or Israel's 12 sons. Then there's red jasper, which is this stone shown here, which is Benjamin, and this represents Benjamin, his last-born son, which is the first and the last. And then here's another jasper stone that has more reddish, brownish, and greenish hues. So I have two different kinds that are the most prevalent. So with the sardine stones, that is representative of the firstborn son, which for Jacob or Israel was Reuben. You notice that Jupiter has the same appearance as the sardine stones, being the firstborn, and is also representative of the planet Jupiter. So currently Jupiter, one like the sardine stone, the firstborn, is in between the horns of Taurus the bull, and Taurus represents the judge. The Pleiades, which the bull is looking at, is the seven churches, but Taurus represents the judge. So I think we see that we're going to have both the rapture and judgment coming soon, especially given the position of the king planet of Jupiter. And given the fact that he was, from a solar system perspective, near God's throne, which I think was near the king planet of Jupiter, you see along the ecliptic, which is in purple, and the galactic equator, which is in magenta, if you center the sun directly at the intersection of that, you see that there is a conjunction between the Earth and Jupiter from a solar system perspective, which is in the exact same position that you see from stellarium, which is like a 2D kind of perspective. This is more another 2D, but from a solar system perspective. And you'll notice that the Earth is in the same position as the king planet Jupiter. Here's the Pleiades. There's Uranus, which is represents heaven. So both the Earth and Jupiter, the king planet, are between the horns of Taurus, the bull. And again, I believe this means judgment as well as the rapture. And finally, here's another picture of jasper, which is the stone for Benjamin, which represents the lastborn. And here's raw emerald, which is what John may have seen around the throne room, as well as that being the rainbow that he saw. It's very similar to the Aurora Borealis pictures with these two stones that John also saw. And so I believe, with the fact that we are seeing so many Aurora Borealis further south than normal, and you can mostly see them with long exposure, but you've seen probably lots of videos talking about this. being well south, and I believe the same is true for the Aurora Australis, which is the southern aurora instead of the northern, and they're also reporting the Aurora Borealis being way further north than the South Pole, as opposed to ours being way further south from the North Pole. And so I'm not going to debate the flat earth or anything. I just know that's what we're seeing. So I believe this is a huge indicator, since this is what John the Revelator saw in the throne room scene. Saw the first and the last, which is jasper and sardine stone. Saw a sardine stone, which is striped and yellowish orange, in the throne room, which looks like Jupiter, the king planet, and it currently is between the horns of Taurus, the bull, which means judgment, and then Jasper being the last, Benjamin and raw emerald, these both looking like the Aurora Borealis or the Aurora Australis, with the fact that we're seeing this in so many places that it's not typically seen throughout the earth, much further south from the North Pole or much further north from the Southern Pole. I believe this is an indicator of the nearness of the times we are living in, and John seeing the day of the Lord. So I know this was a rather rough video, but I wanted to keep it short and sweet and get it out to you very quickly, as I believe the October 17th day is a very high rapture watch date, as others have seen as well. As I said, Brother Dana and also Steve Fletcher 222 and other channels as well. And that being a super full moon, and you know from Proverbs 7, I believe 19, that the good man comes home at the full moon. There was a guy from years ago, and I couldn't find the source. It was from about 7 years ago, that he asked the Lord what was the day of the rapture, and the Lord said he would only tell him what day of the week that it was, and he told him that it would be on a Thursday. So October 17th falls on a Thursday, but there's also the days of Noah, which fell on Halloween, which is also on a Thursday. And there's also the following week on October 24th in between those two dates. So I would say the next coming Thursdays, in particular October 17th, is a very high watch date, especially with all the Aurora Borealis that we're seeing and the stuff that was described by John, seen in the book of Revelation in chapter 4, verses 3 in particular. And I believe he is describing what he saw, not only the one that sat on the throne, but with the emerald rainbow and the jasper stone and the sardine, all those being the fall feast colors, and the center one being the one that sits in the midst of it. And so I believe we are seeing the soon coming time frame of the rapture during the fall feast, which I believe is going to be this month. Anyways, I believe with John seeing both the Aurora Borealis and Aurora Australis in the throne room of God, which is behind the emerald rainbow with the colors of the sardis stone and the jasper stone, which represents the first and the last, which is what Jesus is, Alpha and the Omega. And that's what he's seen in the throne room, and that's what Christ describes himself as being in Revelation chapter 1, but John going further with it in chapter 4, verse 3, and also with the sardis stone looking striped with the yellowish orangish tinge, looking like the planet Jupiter, which is now between the horns of Taurus the bull, which means judgment. And you know, when judgment comes, the rapture also will occur. So I believe with the auroras occurring, that is an indicator of how near we are to everything, and all the fall feasts occurring, and those are the colors of the candles in the menorah, starting from green, which Christ was in the midst of, all the way to yellow, orange, and red being the fall feasts, which are the Feast of Trumpets, Day of Atonement, and Sukkot, respectively. So I think the month of October looks like a super high rapture time frame, so I would watch this entire month. Anyways, I've recorded this like at 3 in the morning, so there's parts of the video that are really rough, and I know that I have a tendency to slow down and try and speed up, and then I'll slow down again. But I was kind of tired doing this at 3, and now it's 3:30 in the morning. So, but I wanted to get this out because these dates are coming up very quickly. And because they're coming up very quickly, please call on the name of the Lord. If you're not saved, this is the time to get saved. Tomorrow is not even promised, but we are in such a high watch period, and Christ is knocking at the door and soon to appear. So please get saved. And there are several great channels that show the gospel in a short period of time, the ABCs of it. But I'm just going to say, please, please, please take this very seriously and to heart and get saved today, ASAP, as soon as possible. Anyways, I hope this video has been a blessing to you. I hope you could hang in there in spite of me being rough and slowing down in lots of parts, but I wanted to again to get this out today, so I'll talk to you soon and hopefully see you in the air. Take care.